Welcome to episode 16 of Target Acquired Podcast. I'm your host for tonight, Jeremy, aka Jer Bear, and on tonight's episode, it's all about the Richmond Open. Let me take it over to the others joining me tonight.
Hey, this is Sean, aka Reynolds Rap.
And this is Swooper.
For those that don't know, a Richmond Open is a convention that's held down in Doswell, Virginia. It ran between May 2nd through the 4th. This year, they had to expand to over 63,000 square feet to be able to host all the major game systems that were making an appearance. They even had something that dealt with tabletop soccer. But that's not what we focus on. We focus on MCP here. With the events, Sean, would you like to break down the events that we had going that day?
Sure. So we streamed all 3 days of the Richmond Open. That was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday, we covered a doubles tournament. And then Saturday, we covered singles day one, and the finals were covered on Sunday. If you'd like to watch back the live stream, you can find it on our YouTube channel at Target Acquired Gaming, or you can try targetacquiredgaming.com, which will resolve to our YouTube page. As a reminder, if you're not already subscribed on YouTube, please consider joining us. It's free and it helps the algorithms. Also, if you'd like to help the channel, we have started a Patreon. We are currently working on generating some exclusive content for our Patreon members, and all proceeds go straight into making more content for you, our viewers. Links can be found in the description. So, day one, Jeremy, you want to cover what happened?
Yeah, absolutely. So day one, which was that Friday, they had a doubles tournament. We had 7 teams show up for the event, and there was only a handful of affiliations that ended up being there. I was surprised to see how many people kind of went for the same affiliations. So we had 2 people that went with Apocalypse. We had 2 people that went with Avengers. We had a Criminal Syndicate team, a Sentinels team, which was very surprising to me, and we had an X-Force team. Overall, it was very interesting to see the characters taken on the board and the mixed match of combinations of affiliations and how they played. I believe when we were streaming, I think one of the first streams we ended up having was with an Apocalypse affiliation team, and they brought some interesting splashes, I think, to the mix. Do you remember much with the Apocalypse first team, Sean, that kind of stood out to you?
Man, you are asking me about things that is extremely vague because, well, doubles is just a fun event, right? So this is not an ultra competitive event. This is really just for fun. So I know that they took all 4 horsemen, which is a thing you can do when you have +4 threat, but I don't recall exactly what the splashes were now.
I do believe someone took, and of course, unfortunately, we did not have any roster lists with Longshanks because I think it doesn't really work out too well in Jarvis to transfer it over. They would have had to enter it manually, and I don't think it just got around to it.
You can MCT code into Jarvis. You can still do it the same. You just do it twice. That's what me and Matt did.
Okay. Yeah, it just, for some reason, a lot of people just ended up not linking it. So it's hard to remember exactly some of the splashes that ended up being taken through the different affiliations and different teams, but pretty sure the Apocalypse team had a Omega Red. I could have sworn, but I could be mistaken on which Apocalypse team had it.
I don't know that any of the Apocalypse teams splashed because the whole point was they were able to take all their horsemen, right?
Well, I think even with taking the horseman, I still think they had extra points left over.
They did. So, all right, I pulled it up on replay. So the first round we did have Sentinels and Apocalypse, and the Apocalypse team ran Wolverine, Toad, Beast, Cable, and Deadpool. So all of them were affiliated. The more interesting one was actually looking at it back at the Sentinels team because they were running Red Skull 3 in there, which was interesting.
Yes, and they had a good old-fashioned Bucky 1 in there too, right? So it's good to see Winter Soldier 1 getting played. I guess it helped with keeping them affiliated. Him being able to be Rogue Agent still kind of panned out for the doubles. Yeah, it was a very interesting first match on the stream, though. Definitely people should check it out. Having Apocalypse go up against Sentinels was a doozy. There were some very big plays that ended up happening on both sides that ended up being entertaining. But, I mean, with doubles, it is a different event. A little bit of different rule changes with things from the singles. I see that becoming more popular. A lot of people are starting to like it a lot more than what they used to. Could you see it, kind of starting to get on par with the singles? I know singles is always like what everyone loves, but do you think it would be like the next runner up, or do you think that's going to start veering towards online?
No, I think doubles is there solely as a thing to go to conventions to have fun for. Like, I don't think it will be anywhere else other than major conventions, and I think it will always be a staple at major conventions because it is a fun format, and that's all it should ever stay at, as a fun format.
Yeah, and I mean it. At the end of the day, it's definitely fun getting a friend together with you to go and try to take on other teams. John, I know you played in the doubles. What's your thoughts on doubles? Do you care for it? Do you see it as just being more of a relaxing style of game, or do you kind of go in with like a competitiveness to you about it?
I just let my partner pick the team basically this time. It's what I did at the Palladium doubles tournament too. I said, just pick what you want to play and I'll figure it out. So I don't think it's too like overly competitive. I think you can be competitive. And I think as I go to more and more doubles events, you notice that there are a couple affiliations that they're probably the better choices. Some of those leaderships really benefit, or some of those like affiliations really benefit from the extra 4 points.
Yeah, I definitely see crime being one of those, especially if they're taking Mayor Fisk as the leader.
Yeah,
More
I think
bodies on the board never hurts with them.
right. Yeah, you get a whole extra guy that counts as two guys is really great. Apocalypse being able to pretty much guarantee all four horsemen is really good. Dark Dimension is pretty good with the extra 4 points to play around with. Avengers, which is what we played. We played Steve on Avengers. I think Avengers is really good because it's just more people that have discounts.
And interesting enough, I'm actually surprised we didn't see more of your like either like a Wakanda or a Midnight Suns where they get those tactics cards for like their free attacks like Siege, or Wakanda has that like gathering card that does the same thing where you all get to do a free attack on someone in the round. I'm surprised that didn't get those two affiliations didn't make an appearance, because that's a really strong thing when you can add more people to the board. You get
It really isn't, and I'm kind of like giving away a competitive edge on doubles, even though it's not a competitive event. But things that look good on paper like that actually do not translate well in doubles.
that's a
Just like
shame.
just like taking a Hulk is not necessarily good in doubles, especially like the sixth threat Hulk, because he just goes to the ground. You have a
Well,
whole nother
there's more
character, a whole
people to
nother
go
action.
into them. Yeah.
Exactly. So your siege turns aren't as impactful because, like in a normal game, siege turns daze two characters, and you need those two characters dazed because that gave you the 1 point advantage that you needed to win the game. That's great. Awesome. That doesn't usually translate the same way in doubles. So it looks good on paper. It's actually not as great. Cards like Avengers Assemble, though, that's freaking busted. X-Men
First class.
First Class, that's busted. Yeah, Siege and the Wakanda and even the Spider Foes attack out of sequence cards, they're not as impactful as you think. Movement
I
is
feel like the
big.
Spider Foe one especially because that one's only targeting one person.
Right.
Now, do you guys find with doubles that it seems like more bigger size threat characters are coming along for the ride? Or do you see people, especially since it's two people, having to share the characters? Do you see that people end up taking more wider teams to be able to enjoy more interactions? It just seems like it would stink to go tall and then your partner only has two characters while you have three or four, depending on the point values.
It depends on who you're playing. Like when I played, we were at Adepticon, I played Dark Dimension. I mean, all I had was Dormammu and Weapon X the entire time. And it was fine. But at the same time, if you were to do like Dormammu and I feel like Apocalypse, I'm not going to include in like what I'm talking about. Because, Jesus Christ, you hear that mess?
Yeah.
That was a cat that just knocked something over. But like Apocalypse and Dormammu lead, so they have affiliation. They're the leader, so you have to take them. But then when you take characters like Hulk or Immortal Hulk, even Thor's probably Gladiator would fall into the same list. Those guys are just so easy to punk out when you have more characters because I have more activations, which means I have more attack actions, which means I have more chance for you to roll dice, for me to spike, and I think tall characters are just easier to take out. I actually think you do the opposite and you go wider.
Yeah, I agree with that. But again, it all has to synergize with your initial strategy when you make the lists. So doubles, you get a huge advantage when you don't just say, "Hey, what are we playing?" And you and your partner sit down, you write a list, and you have a plan for each threat level and each crisis. But that's extra work, and that's a lot of work for a fun event. So
True. I think the big thing too is like if you're new to doubles and you're making a doubles list with your partner, um, don't you have to pay attention to who has what. So especially like tactics cards. Don't let somebody take all the good tactics cards and then you're like, great, I have nothing to play, because that's happened before where all of a sudden we're playing a card down because we didn't divide our tactics cards correctly. And it's
Yeah,
the same thing with characters. You don't if I'm playing and I'm playing with Sean, I have Dormammu on my team, so I don't need to take Thor 2, Jane, Hulk, because that character's never going to get played.
well, and you're already 8 threat deep onto your side of what you're
well,
Exactly.
allowed
that's
to
his
take.
point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I
Like
mean.
you can't have two. You can't have one player have both the kaijus on your team if you have two kaijus, because
And
that will
same thing
never
with like
touch the field.
the restricted cards. Like you should divide your restricted cards. You should divide your cards that are not character specific, because then what happens is if somebody takes all like you play all these characters, you're like, I got all these character specific cards. That's great, but in all honesty, when you take 7 characters to doubles, you probably don't play 4 out of your 7. I feel like most of the time. It's a lot less like when you bring your full 10-man roster and you play in singles, you might not use 2 of your characters kind of thing. But in doubles, I feel like you're less likely to use your full 7 roster throughout the games unless your intention is to on purposely do that. Because for Adepticon, I took 7 characters and I played 2 the entire time.
Did that also were you kind of forced into that situation because of the crisis that you ended up getting? Were you getting a lot of the same points every round?
In reality, the points, so you do get 4 extra points, which sounds great. But when you divide it in half and you plus or minus the 2, it worked out for us where we just said, like, I get 11 every time and Sean gets to play with the rest. Because I have to take Dormammu and we were taking Weapon X. We know those 2 were coming every time. So the only ever time that I would differ is if I was able to get 13 points, and then I would add a 2 cost. That would be the only difference.
So it's almost suitable to have a, quote unquote core that the one person's bringing. They know, all right, this is the middle of the road for the threat value of what we're going to get usually. And then have the partner, as you guys are making your list, just, they deal with the splashes. They deal with the things that more so can be hit or miss on who's coming along for the ride.
Right. I think it's important for the one person, whoever is taking your leader, and you're like, hey, I'm playing Kingpin the entire time. That's our goal. Now you have to know, as the Kingpin player, you're basically playing like whatever point cost you're getting, your point cost is -4 because you're always taking Kingpin. So when you're deciding those other points, let's say we're playing the 22, we split it into 11. I spend 4 of it on Kingpin. In reality, I only have 7 to play with. So that means I get a 3 and a 4. So, you have to decide on those kinds of things. Even if it's less, like you're playing 10 points, and it's like, oh, well, I took Immortal Hulk. Now you can't even play Immortal Hulk. So why do I have it? Why am I the person as the person with the leader? I shouldn't be taking those larger characters because I'm always down the cost of our leader.
From the doubles events that you guys have played, have you found that it's obviously you guys talk to each other about making the roster, but if you're kind of going in not as prepped, do you see that it ends up being harder to try to stay affiliated? Because someone might be like, shit, I really needed that 3 cost. I don't have any 3s left on my side that are affiliated to help bring to the table. Do you find that people end up having trouble making the points work?
I haven't seen anybody, like, I personally haven't. I've played Avengers, I've played New Mutants, I've played Dark Dimension, which Dark Dimension doesn't count because everybody's affiliated. But Avengers is a pretty large, like, to pick from kind of thing. So when I picked my characters, I mostly, like, I looked at my partner's team, he had almost all Avengers, so I was like, oh, okay, well, I can splash, but I'll keep, X and Y just in case.
So do you think that leads to a problem of maybe not seeing certain affiliations played in doubles because it might just be too hard to stay affiliated?
No, everybody should be able to be affiliated. It shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah,
What
like,
affiliation
and
wouldn't be besides maybe no, because you could still do it with Sentinels. You're forced to take, a majority of the Sentinels and maybe Cassandra, but
well, that's where that Bucky comes in too with the rogue agent, which really
right.
I
So
think
like
helped make
they would
that
be the
work.
smallest roster, so they would be the only one because like Winter Guard can do it just fine because they got all those added
Yeah, they've had a couple
characters.
people added.
It's pretty easy to stay affiliated. You just have to look at it and be like, well, we know, your one partner's taking a leader. You're probably taking 5, 6 characters. So,
Yeah,
you just can't splash up a storm. That's
yeah,
all.
and as the affiliations have changed over the course of the past year or two, and they've added more people to affiliations, I'm sure it's made it easier to work with it versus when Winter Guard only had 4 characters to work with, and
Yeah, but I
I
mean,
don't
then
know how
that's
long ago
just,
doubles really started taking off, but I
it's been
think it
around
seemed
since the
like been
beginning,
on
I feel
par with
like.
yeah.
But at that time, though, like, all right, let's say Winter Guard back when they had 4 characters, or even Sentinels, and they have 4 characters. Then just don't play that. There's 28 affiliations to pick from.
Yeah, sure,
Don't pick the worst one for doubles that has no characters. Play something else. And I think doubles is a good time to try something else. Because it's not overly competitive. So this is your chance to put some of those characters that you're like, you know what, I think they could be good, but I don't want to like ruin my chances of placing in the singles by taking this character. Doubles is a pretty solid place to play those things out and test those things out and see how it works. Because sometimes, like on paper, some characters look really good on paper and they're just dog do on the board. But then sometimes those characters that look dog do on paper are really good on the board.
yeah, and I mean it getting the extra points to be able to maybe play some not so commonly taken people or not so commonly taken affiliations just for fun. And that's the big thing. I don't want to see doubles turn into like a competitive area, and I hope it stays the way it is because it is very fun and it's just, you know, someone brought Sentinels, right? Like you're not going to see that at a normal tournament,
Yeah, I mean it's
and
fun, but it's still a tournament. So
true. Yes, I know you're always going to have very competitive people regardless of the situation. I just feel like it's in a good spot, and most of the people playing in doubles, you know, they're coming just to have fun. But I can see it starting to creep a little into okay, we're just gonna take very good affiliations that are gonna to break doubles, and then it's gonna turn super competitive. I just hate to see that
I
happen.
think with that though is like with these kinds of tournaments, you don't make the prizes like outright. Like, yeah, you probably get a trophy, like a little trophy that says you were first place in doubles. But like for a lot of those things, they might hand out prizes or something. Then it's kind of like, for doubles, maybe that's what you just don't hand out that much. There's not so much incentive to win because you want stuff. You just basically get bragging rights for doubles.
Yeah. Now, in that kind of situation, do you feel that at conventions, are you going to see more people going towards timeline or more people going towards doubles down the road?
Doubles.
You think the same thing, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, it's an easier event to fire, and frankly, it's just a fun event. I can't stress it. It is probably one of the most fun ways to play MCP.
It actually requires less models than a normal game versus timeline
That's
requires
true.
triple.
Yeah, that's true. Technically, you are bringing less models for yourself.
Yeah. Um, I don't know about timeline. I praised it so much 2 years ago. I loved it, and then the last one I just played, I did not like it.
I didn't like the
So
format. Well, I don't like the way that Adepticon ran it. I think it
yeah, but
can
I
be
think
run right, but the character selection this year was bad, and only running 3 rounds. Like, what are we
the
doing?
3 rounds killed it for me, and I was like, I do not like this. So I was not a fan of that, which sucks because, like I said, the previous year, and I preached that timeline for everybody to try it because I had so much fun the first year doing it when it was 6 games. I thought that was a lot of fun. I thought the character selection was great. Um,
That's a
And
long
then this
day.
year I had the exact. I mean, whatever. That's what you're there for.
Well, I'm saying is like compared to what they did this past time. I mean, that's a very much a longer day, which is
Right. Well, I
fine.
went in expecting a long day. I clearly
Hmm.
didn't read the thing very well, and it was like, oh, it's just 3, and then we have cuts, and I'm like, that sucks.
Well, and if you're having to go through all the effort and work to bring 30 models that are painted, and
And fly them across the country.
yeah, you want to play with them, right? So only having 3 rounds, that seems,
Right. That
I don't
was
know.
my biggest complaint, was that I got all these models together, and it was exactly that. I had 1 round to play them, and it's like, great. So I borrowed models. I did all this stuff to make sure I had the 30. And in reality, it doesn't matter. In reality, I could have just been like, all right, I'm just going to take these guys because they're the only ones that are going to see the board, basically.
Mhm.
And it sucks you didn't have a chance to do all that different stuff.
And AMG even hyped it the 2 years ago as the premier event. This is the premier Adepticon event.
Yeah.
And this year it definitely felt like the other event.
Right. Yeah, I was disappointed in timeline.
Do you think some of the problem ended up being that they were putting people onto the timeline that weren't even released yet and hadn't
No,
came out?
I think what happened was the first year they did timeline, it went too long. They didn't like that it went too long, so they tried to cut it back. So like all of their formats were different this year than they were the previous year. Like even the singles was different because you had the 2 cuts instead of just 1.
Which I hated. I hated
Correct.
that.
I am with Sean 100%. I don't understand why we're doing 2 cuts. Just do 1 cut and let people be able to play in other events and have a good time. Sure, you're going to have a long day, but I signed up for that long day. I'm well aware that I'm playing 6 games and it's a long day. I don't care. That's what I'm here for.
Getting your money's worth.
If they didn't want to play 6 games and have a long day, then don't sign up for it.
True. I mean, that's what
I
you
have
go to
the
those things to
same.
do, right?
Right. That's what I'm here. I'm here to play games. I'm here to roll dice and play with my little toy miniatures. And if it's like I have to play from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m., whatever, that's awesome. How often do you get to do that?
It's the reason why I paid to go there.
Correct. Exactly. That's the part I don't understand, is why we're shortening the days,
So that you can
because
have a nice dinner and you
I
can
don't,
go take
dude,
some painting
I
classes.
don't give a shit about the dinner. Don't get me wrong, the painting classes, like, it sucks that you miss them, but that's part of the thing where you have to decide, am I playing in timeline, or do I want to take this painting class with this guy? And it's like, yeah, you got to make a choice.
But it's like any other form of entertainment. I mean, you can't do everything a lot of times. You have to make choices on what you're going to prioritize. Are you going to
Right.
play the tabletop? Or are you going to learn how to paint better?
And a
Right?
lot of some of those painting classes too, like, we just got lucky and there was a couple of them that are like night classes, but most of them are during the day, so you have to choose between playing and painting anyway.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, I'm assuming a lot of people, because I remember meeting someone back in the day who went to Nova just strictly for painting classes. They weren't going to play any of the miniatures. Their whole thing about going was to learn how to paint better,
And
and that
that's what
was their
floats your
thing.
boat.
Yeah, but yes, for someone who wants to do, best of both worlds, yeah, you're gonna have to pick and choose then. And then, if you're, you know, not doing so hot in MCP and you decide that you want to drop so that you can go take a paint class, sure, is what it is. But
I'm
yeah,
against dropping. I don't think you should drop. I think you should play. I
but
think
yeah,
the only way you get better at the game is by playing the game. So
that's
keep
true.
playing, even if
And
you're getting your butt kicked. Keep playing. You can only get better. You pretty much cannot get worse.
and you have to go outside your comfort zone of your own store and play different people that you've not been playing constantly for the past, months on end.
Right. And as you play the game, and even if you're losing, the people that you're playing are also losing. So like your skill levels start to match up. And like that last game might be your best game because you guys might be matched in skill. And then that like helps you and you learn your way through it. I like to set like that little bit of goal where I want to go X and X for the day kind of thing. And then I'm pretty happy with that.
And always learn from your losses.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing, is every time you play, you'll always learn something as you're playing. Because I mean, if you've watched our YouTube videos, I think every time I play, I go, oh, that was the stupidest thing. Like, I just made the biggest mistake, and then I know that's the moment that I messed up.
And I think it happens to all of us. It's not just like one particular person having a rough time of it all the time, But it's nice when we do learn from the mistakes and like, oh, I forgot I can do this with this person. And you remember it during their activation, not 2 turns later going, ah, shit, I forgot about that.
I think of it more as like I moved or did something, and in reality, I should have done something else. And then you like learn that like I think the big thing to learn is to don't always see red unless it's the only way to win.
Mm-hmm.
Don't only see points unless it's the only way to win, kind of thing. And you have to know the difference between that. In our like that Dark Dimension video we did, I'm dumb and I moved to get points, and it was so stupid because I couldn't catch him in points anyway. So it was a dumb move. And those are things like I did it, I learned my lesson, and hopefully I don't do it again.
So overall with doubles, I'm assuming you guys are both in agreement with me as far as it's good for cons, maybe not so much to be ran as its own event at a store, but definitely a good time for conventions.
If you have a solid community and you can pull 24 people for a singles event, I think doubles is fine to run at a store. But if you're one of those places where your standard tournaments are probably like half at like 12 to 8 people, that's great for singles. But then once you cut that in half, it doesn't work for doubles and it's not as fun.
Well, I'd definitely run that as like a holiday event or some special event that
Well,
you
yeah,
run
it's
once a year.
not a monthly event. It's definitely like a once a year kind of special event. I do like the idea of like a holiday event, something just to have fun, and then you can give out goofy prizes or something like that. That's definitely the way to do it. Let's listeners out there, let us know what you think. Are you for singles, against singles? What is your experience with singles?
I mean
Do you find
doubles.
it? I'm sorry. Did I say singles every
You
time?
did. You did. So, but we're gonna roll with it. We learn from
Yeah.
our mistakes
We
and
learn
we
from our
adapt.
mistakes.
That's right.
Tell us about your doubles experiences and like if you enjoy playing doubles, do you find it to be competitive? Do you find it to be more friendly kind of game? I know it's always advertised as friendly, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's what ends up happening. So
All right. Well, so outside of the doubles, we also had a singles event that happened that week. And John, I know you were playing in it. So did you want to go over singles as far as the event goes and kind of talk about it?
sure. So I played in the singles. I was playing Namor Shield. I had Splash of Dark Dimension. It never came out. I took Dark Dimension for 16 and it never hit 16, so I played Namor Shield the entire time. I went 4-1, made it to day 2, and scrubbed out my first game in day 2. There were a lot of different affiliations, like a lot.
Yes, looking over it, there was no surprise there was a lot of crime and Avengers, but I mean, we actually had 2 Winter Guards, we had some X-Men, there were 2 Dark Dimension players.
I was one of them, and I played the other one.
But out of everyone that showed up, surprise, surprise, Asgard was not there. I really thought that Asgard would still be kind of lingering around a little bit. I didn't think they would just die off. So I don't know if maybe it's just, location, what's popular in those areas. Obviously, being in Virginia, there was tons of Virginia players. There was a good bit of North Carolina players too that ended up showing up. And maybe it's just not as popular over in those areas as what it is for us. But
Yeah, the unused ones are kind of crazy, like A-Force, Asgard not getting played, Hellfire Club, I totally understand. Like,
yeah,
woo,
I'm in
how the
agreement with you.
mighty have fallen.
Yeah.
Lost Legion, or is that which that one is?
Yeah,
Yes. Yep.
that's Mephisto.
Yeah, I totally get why you're not playing Mephisto. However, I always see him like randomly in tournaments, but I am with the unused party on here. I think he sucks.
I am surprised we didn't get at least one Convocation player or at least one Black Order player. I think people were scared to try Thanos after the nerfs to
I
him.
mean,
Well, I
I
don't
don't think
think
it's
some of the stuff's
scared.
a
I
nerf,
think our
but
community's just weird, and the second you nerf something, everybody throws it in the garbage.
And
yeah.
that's why
It's
there's
the
no
cr-
Asgard. That's why
Yeah.
there's no
It's the
Black Order.
craziest community. You touch a model, like nerf it even the slightest, and it's like, get out of here, flush him down that toilet. I don't want to ever see you again.
They get traded at the local stores.
Right? Like, when's the last time you saw Cosmic?
Yeah, for real.
We finally did see the influx of Inhumans players. I've been waiting for it.
Yeah.
But we did have during the tournament, I'm very, very surprised. I'm happy about it. We had a new Mutants player.
Yeah, and he almost made top 8, except for
Yeah.
John punted him in the face.
Thanks, John.
So thanks, John. We could have had new Mutants in the
Sorry.
top 8.
Sorry.
But yeah, I was shocked to see that and how well they were doing through
Yeah,
the
he
thing.
did really well. Like I said, I ended up playing the other Dark Dimension player. He was Dark Dimension and Apocalypse. So when I went into the game, I was like, oh, I guess he's going to either play one or the other. Because they'd be easy to like swap, because you just take everybody affiliated with Apocalypse. You're like, if I don't want to play Apocalypse, I'll just play Dormammu and they're still affiliated. Cool. Then we pick our teams, and he drops Apocalypse, Dormammu, Darkstar, and Toad. And I was like, oh,
Lord,
I have to deal with both of them. I was not expecting that at all.
that's a little wonky.
Yeah. I'm familiar
terrifying.
with Dormammu, so I think that definitely gave me a slight advantage to it. I was well aware of what he does, how to, counter his kind of stuff, because like I said, he was in my list, and we played him at doubles, so. But it was a fun game. It was definitely surprising, and I know the guy is young. He plays for Nova Protocol. He loves to take those lists, those kind of out of the box lists. So
Which is always good to see when they actually work, and you're like, I didn't know they could do that.
oh yeah, and he's done it before. He won a tournament like a long time ago. Like I want to say pre-COVID. And he did it with like Carnage basically, and like nobody was taking
That's
Carnage.
crazy.
But he took like an unaffiliated, no leader thing, and I remember the main staple was Carnage, and you were like, oh, this is going to be awful, and he's like, nope, I won, and he won all 4 games with Carnage on the board. So sometimes it's the pilot, man.
And I mean, with how the event went, I mean, we had the typical normally taken characters. Obviously, like Zemo ended up being number 1. He was in 12 people's rosters. Namor was in a lot of people's rosters. I was actually surprised to see that because I think there was only 2 defenders, and I think and there was one other shield guy, which I could see him being in those. But I don't know where else he ended up getting a splash.
Jeremy, every single Steve 1 shield player has Namor.
Namor's really good.
Yes.
Okay.
You get a charge turn 1 with Namor. Every single Avengers player has Namor.
That's true. I guess, yeah, you do get it.
And
with
they were
them.
the second most taken affiliation, or third, technically. But
Now, obviously, he does much better when the extracts are not civilians. Do you think he's worth taking even if they are civilian extracts?
Yes. He's stupid good.
Someone
I
took
would,
him with a
like,
time
it-
gem, too, which was
Well, that one
odd.
person.
one
Yeah.
person did.
Also, Namor's real name is Namor Mackenzie.
Okay.
What a weird last name to have.
You
It's
just
like,
realizing
sure.
that?
never seen that before. And I'm like, oh, I thought he was like Cher and he was just Namor. And they're like, nope, he has a last name. And you're like, Mackenzie is your last name.
He's Irish. You didn't know that?
That's so weird.
He's related to the Loch Ness Monster.
That's such an odd thing to have.
And then, of course, we had Shang-Chi. Obviously, that's a no-brainer. Hulk, obviously, is a no-brainer. There's a good bit of Miles as well.
He's really good. He steals.
I mean, yeah. I mean, so like all your normal solid characters to take were at the top.
You know who's like a surprising one? I know he's really good, and when I say his name, it's going to be like, yeah, because he's good. But in reality, I don't feel like I saw him a lot when he came out, and not a lot of talk about him. But Nova, I think, is jumping up there.
Yeah, he
think
was
he's
taken
very
by
good.
5 people, so he was like in 10th spot for top characters.
Right.
I've never been disappointed anytime I've ever put him on the board.
No, I think he's very good. He's a solid character. I think you're going to see more and more of him as time goes on, especially like depending on what happens with these character changes. If a bunch of characters get hit with that Nerf bat, Nova's looking pretty.
Yep. I really thought I would have seen a couple more gladiators since he's like the new thing, but there wasn't many. I think he ended up in 5 people's lists.
I faced one in singles. I went into him hard because he has no defensive tech. So I was like,
Yeah.
He threw him out there, was ready to start punching, and I said, I'm not even going to give you the chance, and I murdered him.
I mean, I feel like that's how you have to deal with him. You can't just let him go.
He's pretty easy to take out. Well, so the guy I was playing in human, so he had a lot of like ways to stop me from attacking Gladiator.
Okay.
But once he threw him out there, and the second he was out of that bodyguard protection range, I've got Black Panther, Namor, and Zemo, and I'm like, get him.
Just murder. Just get him
Yeah,
out.
just
Get him
get
off
him
the
off the
board.
board because I don't want to deal with him.
Tactics cards wise, it looks like it was pretty much the commons as well. Brace was obviously number 1. Recal took second. Patch up ended up coming in third.
Well,
It's
it's
nice to see.
Well,
tied.
it's a
Oh
tie
yeah,
5 ways.
between that, oh god, it is 5, 4 ways. It's Patch, Sacrifice, I Am a Baron, which obviously because with Baron Zemo being taken so much, and then Warpath.
You know what the crazy part is? There were 12 Baron Zemos, only 11 I Am a Baron after all.
So who was like, this card isn't worth it?
Yeah, the card's worth it.
Well, I guess it depends on what else they were taking too. They might not have been able to
So
fit it in.
No, there's no way. I play Shield and I'm able to fit it in.
I could make the argument that I'm a Baron after all is not needed if you're taking them in Steve leadership.
That is
I'd
a good
agree
call.
with you. Glad to see Warpath doing wonders. I'm glad they unrestricted that card.
Man,
It's a
I
nice
don't
card.
know. So when you think about I'm a Baron after all, even playing it first turn, so Steve gives you the discount so you can charge first turn. Yes. If you I'm a Baron after all, after you've charged first turn, you go in, it gives you 1 power, which allows you to master swordsman the second they try to attack you back.
It does. I'm not saying it doesn't have merit. I'm saying it's not a stapled requirement.
Yeah. I still think I would always take it.
I could see it being for emergency stuff. Like, what if you whiff that charge and you don't get any power off of it? At least then you can play the card and pick up an objective if you need to.
Well, all right. So if we're really focusing on just Steve leadership, also keep in mind, what is that? Reserve members, right? Do you really want to burn 2 tactics cards on just Zemo in an Avengers affiliation?
I want to say the guy who didn't take I Am a Baron after all is the same guy who took Shang-Chi and didn't take Chi Mastery.
He is ballsy.
Because we have 7 Chi Masteries and 8 Shang-Chis.
Yes. Well, if you're either of those 2 players, we would love to know why you didn't take them. Maybe it's for reasons because you had too many other good cards to take or whatever the situation might have been.
Also, to the 6 players that took Survival, did you ever use it? Because I don't get that card. It sounds great, but it has never come up and I've never used it. Every time I take it, I feel like I wasted a tactics
It sounds great in our old meta when it was Kaiju Con, and that card sounded okay in that, but it doesn't seem good right now.
So, like, I even thought about taking it for, like, the Weapon X purposes, where it's like, hey, I only have to pay 3 power, and you can't target Weapon X, so I'm guaranteed to go for, like, to get another round with him. It still doesn't come up. There's never a time to play it, and when you only have those 5 cards to pick from, it's so situational that I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah. I mean, I've taken it several times and I can never get it to go off. So I just stopped using it. Super situational. And for the Wisdom of the Ancestors takers, make sure you know that you do count skulls when you're rolling.
Make sure you actually have the card in front of you, too, so your dumbass doesn't mess it all up.
But if you do mess up, make sure you're using Namor's leadership so that way you can re-roll those
So it
skulls.
doesn't even matter.
That's right.
Like,
Success.
you talk about like Nova, like never disappoints. Dude,
Ugh.
King T'Challa is such an underrated character.
Yes,
He is so good. Like, I want to see how many people took King T'Challa, if it even shows up, or is it just me? There were 3 of us. 3 of us took King T'Challa, because there was a Wakanda player.
By the
He
way,
hits above his weight class constantly.
I found your Zemo character that did not take I'm a Baron.
Oh yeah, what was he playing?
Shield.
Whoa. One Shield player to another take I'm a Baron after all.
Well, you know what? He also had Shang-Chi and did not take Chi Mastery. He's the same guy. There you
I
go.
do not have
we found the person.
I do not have Shang-Chi in my list. There's just no room for him, unfortunately. He's very, very good.
Well, he
I
did
just
take
have
the Dormammu swap, so he's just sitting in that.
Yeah, but even then, I don't feel like there's ever a spot for him even when I play the game. because it's always, Namor, Zemo, Fury, and then you add to taste. And I don't feel like I ever get to that point where like, oh, I have a 4 threat to put in and I want to put in him. Usually I try to get into T'Challa as my, go-to for the next guy.
We did have 2 Midnight Suns players not take Siege.
Okay, that's a choice.
Yeah, it's a choice. I think that's like one of the main things for them. I would always take it. And then, kind of going through things like Crisis wise, it's practically what we've been seeing be the popular things. It was the crystals for the secures to get the extra power if you're holding an objective. You had Scrolls Infiltrate. Everyone loves that one. Your Legacy Virus came in third, and then fourth was Hammers. Hammers are still up there, which is surprising to see because I thought they would have started pushing a little lower on the list.
People are going to play what they're comfortable with, especially in a larger tournament.
That's true.
To the other Shield player, if you are listening, message me and tell me whether or not you got defensive prototype to work, because I've brought it multiple times trying to make it work. It sounds great, and I just has had no success. So if you've had success with it, please let me know, and I'll put it back in my 10. Because your list is vastly different than mine. But I like the card. The idea sounds great. I just never got it to work. Continue.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it's always good getting, outside opinions of stuff if, someone's making something work and you can't figure it out. Getting that extra advice from someone might allow you to put something in that you took out or maybe you
Right,
thought
it's a
was
crazy
terrible.
card. I put it in for one tournament, and it never came up. And I wanted it to, but it just never happened. That's how I feel about like survival too, where it's like, I think it'll come up in this situation. That situation just never happens.
But other than that, I mean, for what it's worth with Longshanks, because again, rankings are kind of wonky in Longshanks sometimes. It was pretty small grouped for the I guess value of the people, like the scores of people that showed up. Most people were between 400 and 600 for their rating.
I take those ratings for no value.
Sure, I know, like it's because it can be manipulated in Longshanks easily because it's not dealing with official. You and me could play and we could rank it if we wanted to. At the house. But it's interesting to see that, majority of people were between that 400 and 600. But yeah, no, I mean, and then after that, the following day, I think that was Sunday was the finals. It was top 8, and then it was sudden death, so it was elimination. So, it was no second chances for that day. And some people got to go home early. Some people ended up having to stay for the whole time. With the top 8, we had a variety of people affiliation-wise show up. We did end up having, I believe someone had to drop because they had to leave
Yeah, the
that
Nova
day.
Protocol guy, he dropped.
But
James Marauder,
we
he's
had an
playing
alternate.
Guardians. We did.
Yes,
Well, then
yeah,
9 went up to 8, and that's where
That's
Dr.
where the
Gray
Winter
got
Guard.
in.
Yeah, the Winter Guard.
Yeah, that's where the Winter Guard came in,
Yep.
which was interesting to see. But I mean, you had your norms. You had an Avengers player was there, 2 Inhumans. There was
That's normal.
well, like for what they're bringing now, right? I mean, Inhumans has
This
gone
is
up.
the first tournament that we've actually seen Inhumans actually make any real representation, at least from anything that we've ever tracked.
For what we've seen, right? But we know how good the characters, being added have brought. So
yeah, but like those, this is the first showing I've seen them.
Correct.
So
It's not normal.
It's not normal to have 2 Inhumans
but
in
is
the
it
top 8.
But is it surprising to see?
I'm not surprised by it, but it's not a normal. It might be the new normal, but it's not normal yet.
Well, there we go. That's what I'm saying. It's the new normal. You're gonna see Inhumans more often at the top, until nerfs and buffs and all that stuff start taking over. And I'm sure it'll change up here soon. But
I don't think they're going to get touched. There's no reason to.
no, they won't. But other affiliations might get touched that kind of bump them up to be more challenging. We had a crime.
Black Bolt 2 can lose that DR if you didn't get rid of that after my rant from yesterday.
But John, you were the outlier having Shield Dark Dimension, and then
That's
we
right.
had Will who brought Web Warriors. So there was like a good variety of people there, different affiliations there. Almost everyone that showed up there was a lot of teams getting to the finals, right? You had I think 3 different teams ended up making it.
Mm-hmm.
But what were your guys' thoughts with the finals? I didn't want to say yet who won. I just didn't know if you wanted to go over affiliations that ended up placing in the top 8, what your thoughts were with stuff before we went over the actual winner.
Nothing really surprised me. Winter Guard was the only actual surprise making it into the top 8. Everything else is totally in line to be there. And even Winter Guard's totally fine to be there. It's just the first time I've seen them really represent at that large of a tournament.
Yeah, and I was very surprised. Now, Grant, and kind of getting into who the winner was, but Billy, bringing Web Warriors, phenomenal player, and seeing Web Warriors in action, it's awesome to see, because I liked them when they first came out, but I didn't know how to play them, in the sense like they weren't my play style. I'm like, I'm never gonna get these guys to work. I think Gary was in the same boat. He tried Web Warriors for a hot minute, and he had the same issue. Like, they weren't his play style. They were tough to work around. And then watching Billy play them, I'm like, oh, okay, that's how you do it. That's the actions or the moves you got to take when you're dealing with some of the heavy hitters on the other team. And he played phenomenal. So I like seeing Web Warriors being there and then overall taking it. Were you guys shocked at all that it ended up being Web Warriors that ended up taking everything?
Nope. I'm not surprised that Web Warriors took it. What surprises me is the lack of Web Warrior players as a whole.
But we had 4 at this event, so I think they made a fine showing at the event.
Yeah. But I think, like, if you go back and you look at a lot of other events, I've brought it up before that I'm surprised there aren't more Web Warrior players, because I think they're very strong. They definitely are. You're not playing an attrition game. You're playing a points
until you
game.
get the new characters out, which
Correct, until Spider-Man 2099 comes out and he's gonna murder everybody. But they've always been good. And I don't know what happened that changed. Like, they were everywhere for a while. Remember, they were like dominating the meta for a while.
they were.
Yeah.
And then they kind of just disappeared. And I guess it had something to do with, like, they got rid of some of the crises and changed some of the stuff. But maybe it falls into the same category as when you nerf a character, is the faction got a little bit of a nerf, so people just kind of threw them away.
Well, I'll tell you exactly what so you feel terrible every time you play webs and you have to play on freaking Research Station. That mission sucked so hard for them.
God, I hated Research
It was
Station.
so bad for them. And then Asgard was not a good matchup for them at all. So Asgard being everywhere was not good. Research Station still everywhere was not good for them. So having Asgard gone, having Thor 2, which was a complete menace for them, because that splash damage off the arcs really hurt. And then on top of that, they had Rainbow Bridge, and Loki 2 was a fucking menace for them.
Yeah, so is Asgard.
I think they were
keeping them down.
off
It was
for that, though. I mean, they weren't being as popular before.
Correct.
Asgard
And it all comes down to Research Station being the most taken crisis in events. Attrition became the most popular way of playing, and they can play fine into attrition, but not when the crisis scenarios do not allow them to win on points.
Right. Now, they're definitely, like, I've said it before too, is just like, I do think Web Warriors might be my next one. It all depends on that Brotherhood box. When that box comes out, if Avalanche and Lady Mastermind can sway me, I'm going to go Brotherhood. But Web Warriors are definitely calling to me, because they are my play style.
I'd like to see Web Warriors in a doubles roster, because I think with the additions coming, I think you can get almost all Web Warriors on that roster now.
I mean, we'll see when those characters actually come out, but yeah, not surprised at all to see webs in this. They're good. They are a good affiliation.
Yeah, they're very good.
I'll tell you what I was more surprised about, since you were asking about surprise. Freaking, Billy kept on making Agent Venom work. I've played so many games of Web Warriors, and I always have Agent Venom in my roster, and I'm like, cool, I think this is a really good game to put him in. And then he does dog shit nothing. And then Billy was snapping necks with them. He wasn't even using them for what he's good for. He was just snapping necks.
But those rolls he was getting, oh my God, it was like 8 successes, 7 successes, and it was crazy amount of dice going out because of all webbed up, and
He wasn't even using that half the time. Half the time, he was just using the spender off of him and getting 8 successes, which
yeah,
I
like the
usually get 2.
dice were hot. I mean, and I think there was a lot of the people we had on stream were having hot rolls throughout the whole event. I don't know what you did to those dice over there at that table, man.
I don't know.
Because
I need to
That was
start
crazy.
using those red dice now.
they're my dice, but I'm not using them.
Oh, that's what it
Well,
is.
they're half your dice. I put all my red dice in there too.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, they like and some crazy defense rolls as well. Like it wasn't just all attack stuff. I mean, it was amazing where we thought someone was just gonna bite the dirt. Like oh, that's done. That's gonna be the person that's game. And then no, all of a sudden the guy rolls like 5 defense blah, 5 defense
Successes.
successes for tanking it, and it was like crazy games going on. I've gone back and I've rewatched the whole event again because of some of the crazy pair offs versus going on.
I'm with you, Sean, though, with the Agent Venom thing. He is like, a lot of people say put him in Shield. I had him in Shield for a long time. He does certain things, which sounds great. Every time I put him on the board, I've been disappointed.
Do you
And
find that you just can't do enough with him, or do you think he gets like nuked too hard because of certain people just going into him?
I just don't feel like he hits, like, he should hit like above his weight class kind of thing. He has a great attack, he has a throw, he has a swing, he has all these great things. And then you just put him on the board, and it's like, man, I would have just rather had somebody else. You know, it
Yep,
sucks.
that's exactly how I feel.
I would have rather had Widow 3, you know, the 4-cost Widow, because I feel like I could have done more with her versus what Agent Venom's doing for me. And it sucks because he's like one of my only ways to get a throw. So a lot of times when I play, I have no throws outside of King T'Challa's Spender.
Well, when I was playing
And
webs, I was just putting in Shang-Chi as my 4 if I needed a 4 and never
right,
using him.
exactly. And that's the thing. It's just like he's supposed to be there for your anti-webs. He gives you energy attacks. You can't modify. All those things sound great, and they just fucking never come up for me. But I've heard a ton of people, sing the praises of Agent Venom, and it does not work for me. I wish it did.
So overall, do you guys think the singles was a good success with how many people ended up showing up, the variety of affiliations, things like that?
Yeah, I mean, how many people did we have? We had 48
40,
people.
yeah.
That's pretty good.
And I mean, it's nice getting these 2-day events in as well. I know that's hard to do in a normal like scenario in your communities. I know there are some communities out there that could probably pull those numbers, but it's hard to organize a 2-day event around just like a store. But yeah, going to these events and having that many people all kind of hanging out playing together, it's really fun. So Sean, with the streaming stuff, we had a special guest on. Did you want to talk about who was joining us for 2 of the 3 games on the finals day?
Yeah, so we had a special guest from Nova Protocol. We had Wyatt join us. He unfortunately didn't make the top 8 cut, and he was sticking around for Sunday anyways. So he was kind enough to come on and guest spot commentate for us.
Which we absolutely appreciate him doing, and we had a great time. We even got into some interesting conversations about which Spider-Man is the correct Spider-Man amongst all of us, and who our favorite was.
Yeah, and we
growing
all
up.
agreed it was Toby.
No, I don't think that
So
was. I don't
I
think agreement.
we decided to have that conversation because I wasn't there to defend Andrew Garfield. Is that what we did?
No, actually, I think Wyatt was for Andrew. Yeah,
Andrew's the best Peter Parker.
I'm torn because I do think acting wise, I think I like him the best. Though, you have the OG, right? And you know, he started it
You
all.
got to give it to
You
the guy
know,
that sets the stage.
He set the stage, but
but those
Andrew
faces,
Garfield got screwed with the worst villains. If Andrew Garfield's
yes.
villains weren't the utter dog shit of villains, he would have been definitely the best Peter
Well, you
Parker.
didn't like him when you had to face off against Django Unchained?
No,
Well, it's not even
he
that.
has
It's the
he has the worst
CGI
villains.
was bad. The CGI and how they designed the characters was just terrible.
Right. The characters themselves, so like if we're gonna put Lizard in the movie, that's cool. Why did we make him look like Killer Croc when he never looks like that?
Yes.
That was horrible. He looked awful. And then Electro,
Blue.
Well,
Neon
I don't
blue.
even mind the blue, like, the whole thing of, like, he basically becomes a supervillain because nobody remembers his birthday, and, like, he's, like, a kooky-haired, like, Jim Carrey Riddler in the fucking elevator, like,
Yeah.
what was that was so out of place because everybody else is so serious, like, you have Gwen Stacy, who I think Emma Stone is perfect for, Andrew Garfield's playing, like, a more serious Peter, I feel like, and then you have Jamie Foxx, who looks like a cartoon character before he even turns into Electro. You're like, what the fuck is this?
No one remembers me.
Yeah, and he felt like he belonged in the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans because he was so goofy. And I think Tobey Maguire is good because his villains are the best villains, and that elevates him to make him like a really good Spider-Man. If he didn't have William Dafoe as Goblin, and I don't know the actor's name, but whoever played Doc Ock,
Oh, you're gonna kill me, but yeah, I
yeah,
got you.
if those two were not his villains, his movies would not, like, if you were to switch the villains, Tobey Maguire's not that good.
Okay, so we're gonna leave out the third one then completely.
Tom Holland, I'm not even bothering because it's
No,
Tony's.
I meant the Spider-Man 3.
Oh, well, that movie's really bad.
It's really bad. So
That movie's probably the worst one out of all of them. Like all Tom Holland's, all Garfield's, all Tobey Maguire's. Spider-Man 3 is the worst.
I try
Topher
to.
Grayson as Venom was the biggest miscast I've ever seen in my life.
I don't want to remember it. Don't bring his name up. He's
And like the sweet new Green Goblin on the snowboard with the cool goggles. Like, what the fuck, man?
it was still Franco though, right?
It was still
Yeah.
Franco, but it was horrible.
It's just it wasn't Green Goblin. That's the thing.
It was bad.
I mean, the biggest atrocity was that Venom though. That was dog poopy as far as Venom goes. Who
I
thought
think,
making
like,
him skinny was like the right choice? I don't.
Andrew Garfield also has like more impactful moments, I think, compared to Tobey Maguire. So when you like go back and watch Tobey Maguire's Spider-Mans, like what moments really like stand out kind of thing. He doesn't have
It
that
was
Gwen Stacy.
it was in Garfield where Gwen Stacy died, right? And
Yes.
yeah.
When she snaps,
When she
you hear her head crack, and
her
you're
head
like,
snaps. Oh yeah.
and then when they bring it back up in No Way Home or whichever one of those fucking coming home movies.
The one with the Doctor
Multiverse one?
Strange.
Yeah. And when
Yeah.
he saves, Zendaya or whatever to make up for him losing Gwen Stacy, like that's so much bigger of a character moment than Tobey Maguire ever had, I feel like.
Yeah, but Tobey Maguire, the webs come from inside him.
Right. I don't think he's bad. I don't think he's bad at all, but he is not the best.
Did
I
they
think he
Did they both start off early in their careers as Spider-Man? Were they both like, was that like an early role for both of those actors?
No, Tobey Maguire, I was pretty sure was pretty well known.
He was in Pleasantville before that, right?
Yeah, but he was in like a bunch of stuff. He was like a known name. And Andrew Garfield, though, might have been in a few things, but he wasn't as well known. And then, of course, like none of us are even talking about Tom Holland, who I don't think is a bad Spider-Man.
He's not. I mean,
I
it
think
is
he
what it is.
suffers for the same problems where I think his villains suck. And I think he gets overshadowed way too much by being involved with Tony Stark way too much.
Yeah, I didn't like the whatever the heck the second movie was called where they brought Mysterio in. It was all dealing with like drones and that kind of
Right.
tech. I didn't like that.
There's too much technology in Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
And it always comes back to Tony.
Right.
It's always about
that's what
Tony's
drives
shit.
me nuts. Why is Vulture based on, oh, well, I got Tony Stark's flying goofiness. And it's like,
Where's your
what?
like life sucking ability that you
Right.
had?
Bring that. That's what people want. People want the comic book stuff. Stop making shit up to make it like you're trying to make something real. Like Mysterio is supposed to be like special effects. He's essentially like a glorified magician in a way. And they're like, well, you know what's really hip right now? Drones. And it's like,
Watch out, those
dude,
drones in real
fuck
life might do the
off.
same thing.
That is so stupid. And it sucks because I think Jake Gyllenhaal was fine as Mysterio.
Well, and I mean,
The costume also wasn't the worst for him.
Well, yeah, his costume was great. It was just the execution of it was horrible.
the concept of the character, what they wanted to do with him, it was wrong. And for it to be this whole problem, this whole catastrophe, all because of some glasses. Like, really? Glasses ruined, glasses caused all this craziness, and Tony didn't have a way around that somehow.
Well, I mean, it was password protected, okay?
Should have used a VPN with it.
I also hate all of Tom Holland's friends or schoolmates. Everybody who's casted as a schoolmate is just the fucking worst. I can't stand it.
And what do you think about his schoolmates knowing that it's him? Like his best friend, whatever the kid's name is, which I thought they really were gonna start trying to do this weird spin-off of him dealing with Doctor Strange or something because he's using the ring in the multiverse movie.
Well,
So I was really worried about that.
if I remember correctly, his name is actually the name of Hobgoblin, I think.
That was
Okay.
it?
Yeah. So the guy who plays, let's look it up. No Way Home cast. I don't remember who he plays either. He plays Ned Leeds.
Yeah,
Ned
because
Leeds is Hobgoblin.
okay, so somehow in that universe he's never gonna turn to crime or something's gonna happen down the road and he's gonna become the Hobgoblin. So
Well, so at the same time, if he has the same name as the Hobgoblin, if they have plans for it, that's great. But let's look at the actor you have chosen.
yeah,
Are you gonna put him on a Goblin glider?
sure, why not?
Look, Jerry O'Connell was the fat kid in Stand By Me, and now he's a skinny. It's fine. You can lose weight.
Yeah, but he's not. Is my point. Is like he looks the same, if not a little bigger. Like it's gonna look weird. I think it's a weird choice, and I hope they don't do that because it's a bad idea. Don't do
But
it.
the weird thing to me was that, and granted, it got corrected with the multiverse movie because of everyone forgetting about him. But have we ever had any of the other
Actually, I could.
Spider-Man have like friends that knew who they were, like their identity and stuff, secret identity?
Well, Andrew Garfield didn't get a lot of time, so he didn't really have a chance to. MJ eventually knows that Peter is Spider-Man,
Mm-hmm.
and his best friend ends up being Green Goblin, but his best friend eventually finds out he's Spider-Man. Miles' friends know he's Spider-Man. I think it just depends.
Yeah.
I think it makes more sense for Tom Holland's character to have more people know he's Spider-Man because he's a dumb kid, and a stupid kid would be the one who would tell everybody he's Spider-Man, even if it's by accident. Because he doesn't understand, being an adult and it's different. There's a big difference between Spider-Man before Gwen Stacy and after Gwen Stacy. Gwen Stacy dies because he's Spider-Man. That is his fault. So she gets targeted because Green Goblin knows that they have a thing together and that, she's part of Peter Parker's life and stuff, and she dies, and that's after that he understands that, like, man, this is even when Ben dies, it's great power comes great responsibility. That's great and all, but Gwen Stacy, I think, is the peak point of when Spider-Man became like a true hero in understanding that there are repercussions to things and consequences, and you need to be careful about telling people who you are and doing things. That's why in Civil War, when he came out and told everybody he was Peter Parker, that was a big deal.
Yeah,
Everybody thought when Civil War came out that when you had to pick between Cap and Iron Man, and it was who's going to go where, it was like the big thing. Spider-Man, I had to put hundreds of dollars he was going with Cap because he doesn't want to reveal his identity because he doesn't want to hurt those around him. Ends up doing the opposite, which was a huge shock.
Yeah, so now they're still planning to do the Venom stuff for Tom Holland's Spider-Man, right?
His next movie is called The King in Black, I believe.
Yeah, so
Well, it's not going to be Tom Hardy because they already said he was done.
Well, so The King in Black technically, like, Venom might not even be in it. They're just going to use the symbiote king guy, which I think is stupid because he's like a newer character. And there's so many other better villains that we could be doing. And we're like, let's go full space mode and bring in this ridiculously over the top storyline. And
I looked this up recently because I watched the Venom movie because it was on the most recent one because it was on streaming, and I did see that they at the end of No Way Home they put him into Tom Holland's universe, and then they wrote him back into his own universe.
yeah, then they retconned it real quick.
Because there was an issue where Tom Hardy couldn't be in a movie with, and I forgot what the issue was. It was either like a studio agreement issue or
It's a Sony and Disney agreement. So Sony basically loans out Spider-Man to Disney. because Sony owns all of the Spider-Man universe stuff.
Correct.
So there's the agreement to like do that stuff. Then Sony's like, hey, I'm gonna make all the villains have their all these awesome movies. And it's like, dude, you guys have failed miserably on multiple fronts. Stop it. But at the same time, I wonder whether or not those movies get made because you have to make them. Because licensing will go up if you
Correct.
don't use it. So is Craven movies exist just to keep the license? Because it is smart on Sony's part to be like, hey, I'm going to take a, $26 million loss or whatever amount of money it is on Morbius, but I still get to keep Spider-Man, and Disney's going to pay me $30 million to use Spider-Man.
Was that one of the more so the reasons that they kept rebooting a lot of franchises back in the day? Like Batman had so many reboots because wasn't licensing a situation back then.
DC's always been under Warner Brothers, I'm pretty sure.
I never understood why. Like I thought there was
The
something that
tone changed over time. So like Batman 1 came out, you had Batman Returns, which was a little bit darker, but they're all like Tim Burton and they're very campy.
Or we're just leaving out Adam West completely.
Yeah. Well, Adam West is even further. Like, I don't count him for like movie wise. He was a TV show. I mean, he had a movie, but that was different too, And as time evolves, like you went from Adam West, who basically looked like he's wearing a Halloween costume, to the Tim Burton ones with their costumes. And then, Batman in reality is a darker character. The comic books are pretty, dark and detective and grimy. And then when we moved into Christopher Nolan's universe, we got that dark Batman. And then that story had ended, and it's like, well, we can't just let Batman sit around, so we're going to make this awful Robert Pattinson one.
I always thought it had something like, because I thought it dealt with, they always had to do like an origin movie first, and I thought there was some reason behind them having to do that.
No, they do it because the studio's stupid, and for some reason they find it necessary to repeat origin stories over and over. And I think they've finally, like after 30 years, have finally learned their lesson. We don't have to kill Uncle Ben every time we get a new Spider-Man.
Well, they didn't do it with the Robert Pattinson one, right? We just had a Batman movie.
Yeah, it just went straight into it, which, I mean, that's nice and all, but I hated the movie.
Really? It wasn't the worst Batman movie. That is held to what the fuck is this nuts from Boston?
Ben Affleck?
Yeah, Ben Affleck is the worst Batman I've ever seen in my life. Did you watch the Penguin series that HBO did?
So, okay, well, that doesn't
straight in, and it was
I agree.
Really good.
So here's the thing. It's called The Penguin. It is not Batman. It takes place in Batman's universe, and don't get me wrong, Colin Farrell as the Penguin is the best part of that movie, by far. But everything else about that movie is dog shit. Catwoman is awful. The Riddler, oh my god, that was the worst villain, like, ever. His whole plot line is so fucking stupid. He just gets on the dark web and gets everybody to follow him. You don't think there's FBI agents and stuff checking all those things?
Yeah, I mean that really.
It was the stupidest storyline ever. Robert Pattinson's a fucking horrible Batman.
It
was way too long.
Didn't they have him use guns?
Well, Batman does use guns here and there.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
how else does he use those swing lines? He shoots the grappling hooks.
I mean,
no, but there are iterations where Batman does use like pistols or something like that.
Well,
but
I thought that was always like the taboo for him.
No, he doesn't kill. It's supposed to be like the big thing. That's why the Joker just constantly gets away and stuff. But like a more traditional Batman does not use guns, but he has used guns.
Huh. Okay.
I only maim.
Right. I mean, he has used like crossbows and shit, which is might as well be a fucking gun,
He takes a Terminator solution. He shoots him in the kneecaps. He'll live.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. Like, I mean, if you think about it, he beats them to death. Or like, he probably would have been better if he just shot the fucker.
Yeah, but he's living out the experience that he was hoping his dad would have by beating up that, robber in the alley. So if he just beats people to death, then he's reliving that experience.
His father was a pacifist. His father would have never been like, "Oh yeah, let me live vicariously through you."
That's why he's doing it, so he could be like, this is what my dad should have done. He should have just beat them to death when they came to rob us. And he's just beating the shit out of everybody. That's what he's doing.
I can't tell if that's what you really think.
I can't tell either.
Good. I'm glad. I'm making it
Okay.
confusing
Because
for you.
if you really think that, you're missing the point of Batman.
No,
Okay, that's I just wanted to make sure.
no. But no, I always thought like the whole gun thing was a big taboo for him because of what happened. So I didn't realize there was iterations of him that was fine with it.
Yeah, there's like one whole iteration that I think is more like a noir style Batman, and he carries pistols. It's like Captain America. Captain America's used guns.
Yeah. I remember like the World War II
Yeah,
era
he's
of
had
Because, I
guns
guns and
mean,
stuff. Yeah.
before.
it's America. Of course he's used
Right.
guns.
But it just, it depends on who's writing. Just but your more traditional Batman does not use guns.
Anyways, thank you so much for Wyatt guest spotting on our.
Absolutely. Wyatt, you caused this, by the way. This is all you. So thank you.
In the comments, please tell us who is your favorite Spider-Man and why is it Andrew Garfield?
As cheating. Jeremy, why don't you take us to the top 4 so we have
Yeah,
some conclusion to this?
sure. So all right. So like concluding the finals here. So top 4 players. We had Web Warriors with Billy taking first. We had Avengers played by Will Hare. He took second. We had Inhumans, played by Chris, and I'm going to butcher this last name, Falkenberry. He came in third with Inhumans. And then we had Geneva Gray with her Winter Guard taking fourth. Again, it was very tight matches with a lot of them. It was very fun to watch. Again, if you guys did not get a chance to do it, watch the live stream recordings on our YouTube page. It is phenomenal. But yeah, and again, congratulations for it. I'm glad you took Web Warriors. It's awesome. I hope you keep going with them. Never change. And now with that, Sean, there was a couple people that did help with the event, organizers and people. Did you want to give shout outs to them real quick?
Sure, I'll give a shout out to the whole Richmond Open staff. They had been extremely catering to everything we needed with the stream. We had some internet issues from the venue, and they were helping us a lot working through that. So big shout out to Jeremy and his whole crew. And then we had James TOing the whole event, and he had Eddie TOing the doubles event. And so to him and his whole crew, they did a bang up job. Everything ran smoothly, everything ran on time. And yeah, they really made sure to cater to us and everything that we needed in a very timely manner.
Right. And we had like some crazy internet issues and
There was
they
Longshanks issues as well. First day.
I think it's probably the internet was a big problem and it kind of led into Longshanks being kind of a problem at one point, but they really helped us. Like they were on it as best as they could be, to the point where we even used Jeremy's phone to hotspot.
Yeah. It was a crazy first day, but it started to correct itself as the weekend went on. But everyone was working around the clock. Sean, I saw you constantly with Jeremy and his crew over there trying to resolve things, and everyone was like on top of everything. They were very polite about it. They were trying to be as convenient as possible with us. They were trying to do workarounds. So overall, this was my first time at the con. My impressions of it was really good. I loved it. I haven't been to many cons. I've been to Nova once. I've been to LVO once, and those are all your like more major ones. But for this one being technically smaller than them, I think it kind of stood on its own really well, and it's in a good location too. I mean, it had plenty of parking. I didn't have any trouble getting there at all either.
Yeah, it was a little bit weird finding out which building of the Meadows Convention Center it was actually
First
in.
day,
And I will say, the only critique I'll throw out there is I really wish they had pushed the convention 1 week back. The only reason why I wish that is because King's Dominion doesn't open on weekdays until the second week of May. So if they had waited one more weekend,
One more weekend, we could
we
have
could've
gone
gone-
to
Could've
King's
gone.
Dominion,
could have gone to
Yeah.
King's Dominion on Thursday after setup, but
which would have been awesome. You get to go ride roller coasters, then you get to go play games, and they're like right across the street from each other.
I know. Why don't they work out a deal with them? Like, go to King's Dominion and be like, hey, we have like 200 people that are going to come in for Thursday.
Oh, that would be pretty cool to work out some kind of deal with them like that, where you get a little bit of a discount or something.
Yeah. I mean, they have those group rate things that they do for a lot of the companies and stuff. So like,
And like everybody who's at the con is, I feel like, is like that prime age to go and do that kind of stuff.
so get it done next year, Jeremy. I want discount
Yeah.
tickets.
Discount Kings Dominion tickets, and on the weekend they open.
Yes.
Send him a message, and I'm sure he'll get right on it. No, I mean, so like outside of that, did you guys have good places in the area that you went to after the con? Like any like good food places or anything to talk about? I'm not sure
There,
exactly where you guys were staying versus
Well,
me. I was about a 20-minute drive north of the convention.
we were right down the street, but there's like a lot of fast food because we didn't have a lot of time. But the
Gotcha.
2 nights out of it, we ended up going to the same place. There's this crazy like Mexican
hold
restaurant
on. Are
over.
you sure you want to divulge this to all our listeners? Because
Well,
now
they might swarm it.
our
I
hotspot's
know.
going to get swarmed next year.
Whatever, it's fucking. It was awesome. We walked in. What was it, Friday night?
Yeah,
Friday
Friday night.
night, we can't find anything to eat that's around our hotel besides Burger King. And like, I don't want fucking Burger King for like the millionth time. I was like, I want like real food. Everything was drivable. It was like 20 minutes away. And it's like, it's already like 9 o'clock. I want to just eat and go to bed. And we're like, all right, well, let's hit this little Mexican place. It's like on the outer ring of King's Dominion. So it's not in King's Dominion, but it's literally like you could walk to King's Dominion.
Okay.
And they're in a hotel. They're in a Red Roof Inn hotel. So, take what you will from that. And we walk in, and then you just hear music blaring. It's fucking karaoke night. And you've got all these, like, other nerds coming in from, the Warhammer stuff or whatever games they were playing. And they're all up there singing, like, country karaoke. And we're like, all right, this is great. The food was good. They had huge margaritas that were on fire. So that was fun.
Okay.
Yeah, the fire was unnecessary, but it was a cute little touch.
Yep.
Sure.
And it was so good that we ended up going back the next night.
Yeah, it was a La Herda authentic Mexican. It literally has authentic in its name, so you know it's good.
I'll have to try them next time then. And yeah, no, for me, I mean, I had a little bit more of a drive than you guys to get back to the hotel. I was north. I actually was near. There's a military town there that usually houses a bunch of the military guys that are going over to the naval yard, and there's another base close by in that area. And there was actually a really nice husband wife German restaurant I went to, done up in a train station, which was interesting to see. But yeah, like if people are interested in going down, there are hotels very close to the convention, but also maybe like check the surrounding areas because there's like a lot of other cool little things to see or like restaurants to go to that are just a little off the beaten path, but maybe still within 15 minutes of the con or 20 minutes of the con if you really want to stay close by.
Or you could stay at our awesome hotel.
Which was right on the tracks.
We walk into our hotel and they have God, what the fuck are they called?
Coffee table or
No, no,
earbuds
no.
or
They're not
earplugs.
earplugs. Thank you. That's
Yes.
the word I
They
was
had
looking for.
earplugs?
Yeah, so
Well,
on
yeah.
on the like nightstand is a set of earplugs, and I walk in, I look, I was like, what the fuck is this?
Okay.
So there's a little card that goes with it. And the card says, hey, these are for just in case because a train goes by the area and the
My God.
train driver, the conductor, gets a little overzealous with his horn. So if it bothers you, we provided you some earplugs. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, like I was like, oh, how bad could it be? Like, the train's got to be like where?
He
So
had
then I go
asked.
over and I open the window to our hotel room, and literally 20 feet away from the hotel window is the train track. It's right outside. Like we could look. I could tell you what eye color the conductor had. That's how close we are to the fucking train.
Was it bad at night?
I only heard it go by once, and that was because I was awake. Anytime I was asleep, I never heard it. But Sean said he did.
Yeah, all 3 nights I heard it go by, but the thing is, I was so exhausted each of those nights, I just kind of like woke up and went, yeah, don't care. Rolled back over
Yeah,
and passed
it
out.
wasn't bad at all. It didn't bother me, and I'm pretty light on the sleeping part, so I was fine with it. I'd stay there again.
I mean, the first night I did giggle a little bit when I woke
Yeah.
up to it. I was like, yeah, get fucked.
And it was like 11 at night.
Oh my gosh.
Was it that
The
early?
first one was 11 at night because I remember looking to check the time to see like when can we expect it, and I was kind of figuring it would be the same time every night, and it definitely wasn't.
No, because one of the nights was like at 3 a.m.
Yeah, and that guy was, he's all about that horn. You don't give a shit,
It's crazy. That's the only detail they left out of the reservations when you guys made them.
right?
Not on the reservation at all.
So yeah, I mean that pretty much sums up the con. I mean, again, I'm gonna go next year. It was great. So, um, we did have one listener question from Big Al. He is asking about Baron Zemo 1. If he gets a reduction in movement speed and he goes down to a medium movement, do you think he's still splashable? And would you take him? And to what degree would you think he stays towards the top of being played?
If I'm playing the same list I'm playing currently, and he drops down in this thing to medium, I still think he's in my list.
I
I would,
think he is. Well, here's the thing. So, from a practical standpoint, he probably loses. I don't know. He probably goes down 50% in his reliability as far as like making it into rosters. But because this is the MCP community that we're talking about,
Oh, he's dead.
He's dead. Yes,
Uh,
he's buried.
But if he keeps everything else and he only drops his movement down, I still think he's good. I do agree though that his like taken chances are gonna drop like a decent amount. His splash ability will go down, but I still think like as long as the double bubble still exists, it's pretty good.
Yeah, but you run it with
for what
Namor,
you're
and that
doing,
makes
right? Yeah.
sense, right?
Yeah, I know, but that's why I'm saying is like I will still run him in my shield. I still think you run him though in other things too. He's still a really good 3. Like Master Swordsman is very good. His
I would agree with you with
his
it.
spender lets him make another medium movement. That's really good. And it's cheap. It's only 2. He's good. And I think just lowering his movement might be a good idea. I don't want him to because I want to keep him as he is. But I don't think he's overpowering. I think you see him a lot in lists because he is a very good 3. But is he game breaking at all?
Hmm,
I
I
don't
don't
think
think so.
so. I think he's fine the way he is. That's the same thing I think about like the 2s, where it's like, Toad and Bullseye are really good because you're comparing them to the other 2s. So that's why they get taken. And then like Zemo gets taken because he's a very good 3.
And we also know that, like, for instance, Gambit is a 3, and he is getting a huge glow up. So there might just be more competitions in the 3 category coming up
Right.
where it doesn't matter.
And I'm in the same boat as you, John, with it. Like even if they do drop his movement down to medium, I don't think it hurts him because I think he still has plenty of movement to get where he needs to go with his attack and then also with his charge. I think he'll be fine. I don't think that many people would then just throw him away. But like you said, Sean, once something happens where a character gets nerfed in this community, it just goes to the wayside. I guess we'll know what, hopefully in a week, maybe 2.
I'm still going to put my money on the
Last possible Thursday in the month.
I just
Yep,
God,
that's what I think.
please don't do that to me. I have a tournament to go to. Don't do that to me. But no, I'm excited for it. I know we talked about how many people we think will get changed. I know my number's pretty high, so we'll see. I'm excited. I think there'll be some good changes coming.
I did see somebody, and I think in the comments or whatever, said there was only like a dozen.
If
But
that's
I don't
it, that'd
know.
be terrible.
That's what got brought up, but I didn't hear it, so I don't know. So we'll see.
At least give
Hopefully
me
it's
the
more than a
20s.
dozen.
Give me the 20s.
Yeah, I would like more than a dozen, definitely. We have some upcoming events as well coming up here. We still have some spots left in our Crisis Cup Event 3, which will be July 26th at Bazooka Games in Westminster, Maryland. This is a single event. This is for also an LVO points qualifying event. Last time I checked, we had 25 people signed up with 7 spots left. There is a waiting list, so if it does fill up, make sure you put your name on that waiting list because things do happen. Spots will open up. I will also be attending Nova Open. I'll be teaming up with another group for the Crisis Protocol events. So, come check those out. Stop by, say hi. Crisis Event 4 is sometime in October at Huzzah Hobbies in Ashburn, Virginia. We're just waiting on a date for that. We'll also be having a last chance qualifier for all you that have missed our crisis events and haven't had a chance to score any points for this year. This will be your chance to make it in as a final spot to the championships. That will be November 15th as of right now. However, we have to find a new store because our old store closed. And December 4th through the 7th, we will be at Shorehammer in Ocean City, Maryland. This is a great event. You know, if you're looking for a good weekend to get away in the middle of winter, head out to the beach, hang out with us. We'll be running a singles event, a doubles event, an affiliation. And then if Sean forces me to get my special thing done, we'll have something special too. So those were our upcoming events. And that's all we got for today. So Target Acquired is brought to you by Game Chefs, your ultimate destination for all things tabletop. Whether you're looking for a new, exciting board game, assembling your squad for Marvel Crisis Protocol, or building the perfect Warhammer army, Game Chefs has everything you need: miniatures, dice, rulebooks, and the best community of gamers around. And just for you, our amazing listeners, Game Chefs is offering 15% off your next purchase. Just use the tag 2025, that's TAG 2025 at gamechefs.org and save on your next adventure. Roll some dice and level up your game at Game Chefs. Link and code can be found in the description. That concludes this episode of a Target Acquired podcast. See ya!